Welcome to Night Shift Knowledge, a quiet place in the late hours where you can finally let go of the day. Take a moment to settle in, soften your shoulders, and allow the busy world to fade completely into the background. Tonight, we are going on a gentle journey through the fascinating corners of science, biology, and history. Before we begin, please know that the screen will fade to dark very soon. You can safely rest your eyes and leave this video playing as you drift off to sleep. I would also love to hear from you. Please leave a comment below with a general topic you would like me to cover in a future video. It is always a pleasure to read your ideas and shape this channel around what brings you peace. If you find comfort in this space, a like and a subscribe would be deeply appreciated. To ensure the next video quietly finds its way to you, please tap the notification bell. So as your breathing slows and your room grows a little darker, let your curiosity drift along with my voice. Let us begin. Picture yourself hovering weightless over an alien landscape. The seabed stretches out below, a vast, silent plain of pale sand. It's tranquil and almost featureless. And then you see it. A perfect circle etched into the ocean floor. It's huge, maybe 2 meters across. And it's not just a simple ring. From above, it looks like a complex geometric mandala, a work of art. Concentric rings, radiating ridges that look like the spokes of a wheel, a central flattened disc, and an outer trench that frames the entire design. The pattern is precise, symmetrical, and astonishingly intricate. It looks manufactured, as if some intelligent being carefully drew it in the sand with a compass and a ruler. But this isn't on land. This is 20 meters down off the coast of Japan, and for years nobody knew what it was. In the early 1990s, recreational divers began to notice these strange formations. They'd be exploring the sandy bottoms around Amami Oshima Island, and there it would be. This impossible circle. They took photographs and shared them. And a mystery began to spread through the diving community. What on earth, or rather, what in the sea, could make this? The images were baffling. They didn't look like anything natural. They looked designed. Some divers joked about underwater aliens or mythical sea creatures from Japanese folklore. The patterns were so perfect, they reminded people of the complex crop circles that sometimes appeared in farmers' fields. But this was different. These were underwater crop circles, permanent in a way, etched into the seabed itself. When scientists first saw the images, they were just as confused. The initial assumption was that it had to be some kind of geological process, maybe a unique interaction of currents and sand, perhaps a burrowing animal of some kind, but nothing known could create a pattern this large and this detailed. The circles were found on open, sandy substrate, not near coral reefs or rocky outcrops where life was dense. They were out in the bare, flat plains of the ocean floor. That made it even stranger. What creature would put so much effort into the middle of nowhere? The speculation grew. Could it be a feeding trace of some unknown giant ray? A strange print left by a wandering deep-sea creature? The circles had those radial ridges, little valleys of sand pointing inward. They looked like they were made by something spinning, or by something with multiple arms, pressing down in a pattern. But no known animal fit the description. For years, these sand circles remained a beautiful enigma, a secret of the deep, a puzzle waiting for a patient observer to simply watch. Imagine settling on the sand nearby and just waiting. The blue waterlight filters down. You hear the quiet hum of your own breath. You're looking at this gigantic, elegant structure, and in the center of it all is a small, unremarkable fish. A pufferfish not much bigger than your hand, mottled brown and white. It's just sitting there in the middle of its own magnificent creation. At first, you wouldn't connect the two. The scale is all wrong. The fish is tiny. The circle is enormous. It'd be like finding a mouse in the center of a football field. It had perfectly mowed itself. But if you watch, you see the fish move. It flutters its fins and nudges a bit of sand with its body. It's not just resting. It's working. And then you might see it make a run along one of those radial ridges, using its ventral fins to push sand outward meticulously. It's not feeding. It's not digging a burrow. It's sculpting. The truth was far more incredible than any geological theory or any myth. The builder wasn't a hidden monster. It wasn't a force of nature. It was that little fish. The discovery that a pufferfish was the architect didn't solve the mystery. It deepened it 1,000-fold, because now the question changed. It was no longer what made this. Now it was why. Why would a small, solitary fish spend days, maybe even a week, of its precious energy and time to create a temporary masterpiece in the sand? It wasn't a home. It wasn't a nest for its young, not in a conventional sense. So what was it? This was the puzzle that fell into the lap of a marine biologist named Hiroshi Kawase. He worked at the Natural History Museum in Chiba, Japan. When he learned of the circles and saw the first grainy images, he was captivated. Here was a natural phenomenon that looked like art, that defied simple explanation, and it was happening right in his own country's coastal waters. So he decided to find out. He needed to see it for himself, to watch the builder at work, to measure, to film, to understand. This is about the moment of discovery, the what. The stunning geometric shapes that appeared like magic on the seafloor and left everyone scratching their heads. It's about the birth of a scientific mystery, one that starts with a shape, a perfect, beautiful, inexplicable circle in the sand. Next, we'll meet the artist and the man who dedicated himself to understanding its work. But for now, just hold that image in your mind. A vast, silent, blue world. A plain of pale sand, and upon it a complex and elegant design waiting for its meaning to be found. For weeks, months, the mystery sat there. Those perfect circles on the seabed. Who was the artist? The locals had their theories. Some thought it might be a strange, unknown sea anemone. Others whispered about ghostly currents, or maybe it was some kind of underwater earthquake. A geological phenomenon. But none of it made sense. The patterns were too intricate, too deliberate. They looked designed. The scientific world was baffled too. These weren't just random scratches in the sand. They had symmetry, purpose. Someone, or something, was making them. So, a small team of marine researchers decided to find out. Their leader was a man named Hiroshi Kawase, a biologist from the Natural History Museum in Tokyo. He became obsessed with the circles. He needed to see the artist at work. But catching the creator in the act, that was the challenge. The circles appeared in the open ocean on sandy bottoms 10 to 30 meters deep. It's a quiet world, and the artist was clearly shy. Kawase and his team set up underwater cameras. They mounted them on the seabed right near fresh circles, and then they waited. They left the cameras there for days, recording everything, hoping to capture a glimpse of the builder. It was a patient stakeout. The ocean doesn't work on a human schedule. You can't rush it! So they waited and watched the footage. Hours of empty sand. The gentle sway of water, and then movement. A small fish appeared. It was unassuming, really, quite ordinary, about the size of your hand. A white-spotted pufferfish. A species known to science, but not for this, not for artistry. It hovered over the sand and it began to work. It wasn't just passing by, it was sculpting. It used its small body, its fins, even its beak. It would swim down and then push sand with its pectoral fins, creating a ridge. Then it would move along that line and do it again, over and over. It collected bits of shell and coral from around the area and placed them deliberately along the outer trenches as decoration. The cameras caught it all, the meticulous, day-long labor. The single-minded focus. This little fish was the architect, the sole builder. There was no team, no colony, just one small male pufferfish. The species has a formal name now, Torquiginaire albomacalosis, the white-spotted pufferfish. It lives along the coast of Japan in those sandy, subtropical waters. To the casual observer, it's just another fish. But it holds this extraordinary secret, an innate ability to create geometry. When Hiroshi Kawase and his colleagues published their findings, it was a eureka moment for science. The paper came out in 2014. It confirmed everything. The pufferfish was the artist. The circles weren't nests. They were courtship displays built by the males to attract females. The mystery of the underwater crop circles was solved, but solving that mystery only opened up a bigger one. How? How does a small fish with no tools and no instruction build something so precise, so complex? And why? Why spend days of energy on a structure that isn't even a home? It's just a display. A performance. Now we knew the artist, but we were only beginning to understand his art. And so they waited. The researchers were hidden just out of sight, watching for days, until finally they saw it. The mystery artist was a fish, a small, unassuming pufferfish, no bigger than your hand and covered in white spots. Hiroshi Kawase, the marine biologist who would dedicate years to this creature, had his answer. But that answer opened up 1,000 new questions, because now the real mystery began, not who, but how. How does this tiny animal create something so vast and so perfect? To understand that, you have to witness the act of creation itself. You have to follow a single male through an entire week of his life. A week of relentless, precise labor. This is the story of that week. Imagine a patch of sandy seafloor about the size of a large dining table. That's the canvas. Our artist, the male pufferfish, swims above it. He's maybe 10 centimeters long, about the length of a pencil. His creation will be up to 200 centimeters across. That's 20 times his own length. For him, this is like a single person deciding to build a complex geometric garden the size of a tennis court, using nothing but their own body. And they have to finish it in just over a week. It begins not with a grand design, but with a simple, frantic action. He dives headfirst into the sand. He uses his hard beak, the same one he uses to crack open shellfish for food, to bite and push at the seabed. He's not digging a hole, he's starting a trench. A circular trench that will become the outer wall of his entire masterpiece. He swims in tight, anxious circles, his fins fluttering, pushing the displaced sand outward. For the first day or two, this is all he does, carving a rough, shallow ditch in the sand. It's exhausting work. He barely rests. He's on a biological deadline. Once the outer trench is set, the real sculpting begins. This is where the magic happens, and where the sheer physical ingenuity of this fish becomes clear. He has no hands and no tools, just his body and his fins. To create the raised radial ridges that give the structure its famous crop circle look, he uses a remarkable technique. Picture him hovering just above the sand, inside his growing circle. He angles his body. Then, with a powerful wiggle of his tail and a sweep of his fins, he darts forward along a straight line. He doesn't touch the sand with his beak. Instead, he uses the current created by his own movement, the pressure wave from his body and fins, to push the sand sideways. It's like he's using himself as a living plough. He swims in a straight line from the outer trench toward the center, and as he goes, a ridge of sand rises up on either side of his path, a perfect straight line. He does this over and over, dozens of times. Each pass defines another ridge. The geometry starts to emerge from the chaos. But ridges aren't enough. Between each ridge, there needs to be a valley, a smooth, deep groove, so he goes back. He positions himself directly over a freshly made ridge. And then he does something that seems counterintuitive. He fans his fins violently, right down onto the sand. This flattens the crest of the ridge. It pushes that sand down into the troughs on either side, making the valleys deeper and cleaner. He's not just building up, he's also carving down, sculpting and refining. All of this is done with an innate, flawless sense of symmetry. Researchers who measured these structures found the ridges are spaced with incredible regularity. The male isn't measuring with a ruler. He's following a blueprint written in his genes. A week passes in this rhythm. Swim, push, fan, refine. Day and night. The structure grows from a messy scratch in the sand to an intricate, breathtaking relief, a giant mandala etched onto the seafloor. And throughout this whole process, he is the ultimate perfectionist. A single grain of sand out of place seems to offend him. You can almost sense his focus. If a ridge is too high, he shaves it down. If a valley is too shallow, he deepens it. He constantly swims over his work, inspecting it from every angle. His fins are in constant motion, making tiny adjustments. It's a dance of endless revision. Then, as the final days approach, he adds the finishing touch, the decoration. He leaves his circle and scouts the surrounding area. He's looking for tiny treasures, fragments of white shell, bits of broken coral, small, pretty objects that contrast with the dull sand. He picks them up in his beak, one by one. He carries them back to his creation, and with great care he places them. Often he lines them along the peaks of the outer trench, like jewels on a crown. He's not just building a structure now, he's accessorizing it, making it beautiful. Think about the energy this requires. For 7 to 9 days, this little fish does almost nothing else. He hardly eats. He barely rests. He is consumed by this drive to create. Every ounce of his strength goes into moving sand. His fins must ache. His body must be pushed to its limit. He is a tiny athlete running a marathon of sculpture. And the entire time, he is alone. There is no female watching, no audience. He works purely on faith. Faith that when he is done, his creation will be seen, that it will work. Finally, after a week of non-stop labor, it is complete. A 2-meter-wide geometric wonder, a series of perfect ridges and valleys spiraling inward, all leading the eye to the center, to a flat, clean circular courtyard. And there, in the middle of all this grandeur, the male now waits. He settles into the central flat zone. This is his stage. His castle is built. The decorations are set. The sand is perfectly smoothed. All that effort for this moment. For the chance that a female will swim by. That she will see his work. That she will be drawn down to inspect it and to judge it. And what does she see? From above, the structure isn't just pretty. Science tells us it's functional. Those radial ridges and deep trenches aren't random. They act as channels. They alter the flow of the gentle seabed currents. They funnel water inward toward the center, toward the waiting male. It's a subtle, elegant piece of hydrodynamic engineering. His sculpture literally pulls the water and hopefully the female's attention right to him. He has built a landscape that makes him the undisputed focal point, So the how is answered, with his body, his fins, his beak, and an unimaginable amount of stubborn, instinctive effort. But this just leads to the next, deeper question. The why in a different sense. Why this particular pattern? Why is it so geometrically perfect? How does a fish's brain hold the instructions for something this complex? The creation of the circle is a feat of engineering. But understanding its design, that's a journey into the very heart of evolution itself. So the male pufferfish has done it. He spent a week of his life swimming millions of tiny body strokes. He's carved a masterpiece into the seabed, a perfect geometric circle. Now he waits right in the center. But what is he waiting for? And why did he build this? It's the most obvious question. For a long time, the most obvious answer seemed to be a nest. It looks like one, doesn't it? A carefully prepared nursery, a safe place for eggs. But that's not it, not at all. This structure, this astonishing sculpture, serves a different purpose, one far more ancient and far more urgent. This is not a nursery. This is a billboard, a stage, a grand sandy declaration of love, or at least of fitness. This is about the why, the geometry of desire. Let's be clear about what this circle is not. After the female arrives and after mating happens, she'll lay her eggs in that flat central courtyard the male has so carefully maintained. But that's an afterthought, a secondary use of the space. The construction itself, the ridges, the trenches, the decorations, all of that effort happens before she ever arrives. It's built to get her to come, to choose him. The circle is pure courtship, a display. And like any good display, its design isn't random. It's engineered by evolution. To understand the engineering, you have to think like a fish and you have to think about water, not as a still silent thing, but as a fluid, a current, a force. The seafloor isn't static. Gentle currents are always moving, and the pufferfish's sculpture is designed to manipulate them. Picture the finished structure from above. There's a central flat disc. Surrounding it are those radiating ridges like spokes on a wheel, and outside of that, the deep circular trench. Now imagine a slow underwater current flowing over it. What happens? Researchers using models and observation found something brilliant. Those outer trenches and radial ridges act like a network of channels and baffles. They disrupt the flow and funnel the water. The design seems to direct the current down into the trenches and then channel it inward along the valleys between the ridges toward the center. The effect is to create a zone of calmer water right in the middle where the male sits. It's a hydrodynamic oasis. But it does something else too. It potentially amplifies his presence. As the water is channeled inward, it might carry with it the tiny particles of sand or silt that the male disturbs with his fins. It could create subtle, visible streams flowing toward him. To a female hovering above assessing his work, the entire structure might subtly highlight the male at its heart. The currents literally point to him. Think about that. This little fish is an instinctive engineer. He's not just making a pretty pattern, he's altering his immediate environment to control a fundamental force of his world, water flow. He's building a system that minimizes erosion of his delicate sculpture and, more importantly, one that showcases his own body and his energy to a potential mate. The ridges are his spotlight. The trenches are his orchestra pit, and he is the sole performer on stage. And what a performance it is. The female doesn't just swim up and say yes. She is a critic, a harsh one. She inspects. Researchers have seen it. She'll approach the outer rim of the structure and slowly, methodically swim over it. She investigates the ridges and examines the trenches. She's judging the quality of the work, the symmetry, the neatness. This is where those shell fragments might come in. They aren't just thrown about. They're often placed carefully along the inner ridges like jewels on a crown, or perhaps like pebbles lining a garden path. They could be a sign of the male's effort, his ability to forage and decorate, a final touch to impress the discerning eye of the female. All of this effort, this week of labor, is for one moment her inspection. If she approves, she enters the central court. The male quivers and shimmers beside her. He'll nudge her, encouraging her to release her eggs onto the flat sand. And she does. Then he fertilizes them. His job, however, isn't done. He'll stay guarding those eggs for nearly a week more until they hatch. But the female, her role is over. She leaves. She doesn't see the eggs hatch or care for the young. Her entire contribution was her choice. She chose this male in this sculpture and then she swam away. So why did she choose him? What is the circle really saying? On one level, it's a simple, brutal message of fitness. It screams, "Look how strong I am. Look how much energy I have to burn. My genes are so good, I can afford to spend a week on this extravagant, non-essential task." A weaker fish couldn't do it. A fish plagued with parasites or poor health wouldn't have the stamina. The sculpture is a physiological billboard. Its sheer size and complexity are an honest advertisement of the male's quality. But is that all? Is it just a brute force display? Or is there an element of taste, of aesthetics? The female is clearly evaluating something more than just size. She's looking at symmetry, at precision, at the fine details. She seems to have a preference for well-made circles. This suggests the evolution of a kind of standard, an innate template for what a good courtship circle looks like. The male is born with the drive to build to that template. The female is born with the preference for it. Over millions of years, this feedback loop has created something of breathtaking precision, a shared inherited sense of what is desirable. It's a conversation written in sand, a dialogue between male and female shaped by countless generations. The male speaks by building, the female answers by choosing, and the language they speak is one of geometry and flow and effort. The circle is that language made physical, a temporary monument to an ancient biological imperative. It is, in the most literal sense, the shape of attraction, a geometry of desire drawn not with tools but with a living body. And once that desire is fulfilled, once the eggs are laid and fertilized, the story isn't over. It just gets deeper, because now we have to ask the most profound question of all. Where does this come from? Is it art? It serves a different purpose entirely. It's not a nursery. It's a billboard, a flashing neon sign in the sand that says one thing and one thing only: choose me. This is the brutal, beautiful logic of evolution. Every ridge and every valley is a signal, a test. And the female is the judge. She swims above this elaborate arena to inspect. The male quivers in the center, a tiny, hopeful artist beside his giant canvas. If she's impressed, she enters the circle. She lays her eggs in that flat central patch. He fertilizes them, and then she leaves. Her part is done, but his isn't. He will stay for nearly a week more guarding those eggs and fanning them with his fins. All the while, his masterpiece is falling apart. Currents erase his lines, sand fills his trenches. It degrades rapidly. By the time the eggs hatch, the circle is often just a memory, a ghost in the sand. This makes the whole endeavor seem wildly inefficient. A massive energy investment for something so temporary. But that's precisely the point. In the economy of nature, cost is everything. The sheer difficulty of the task is the signal. It's the male screaming without making a sound. It says, "Look how strong I am. Look how healthy. I can spend all this energy and all this time and still survive. My genes are worth having." This is sexual selection in its purest form. The sandcastle is a fitness display, a biological resume, but that resume raises a deeper, more haunting question, one that has divided scientists and philosophers for years. Is this just a signal, or is it art? Let's rewind. A male pufferfish hatches and grows up. He's never seen one of these structures. He's never had a father to teach him. He's raised in a bare aquarium tank. Then one day, he just starts. He begins the motions of sweeping and carving. He tries to build the pattern. He fails, of course. In a featureless tank, there's no structure to create. But the impulse is there. The blueprint is in his brain, hardwired. This is the crucial fact. This behavior is innate. It's not learned or cultural, it's genetic. The fish is born with the instructions for this specific, breathtaking geometry. He doesn't think about it or plan it, he just does it. It's an irresistible urge to make this one particular thing. So, if it's all instinct, can we call it art? Art implies intention, creativity, and an aesthetic choice. A bowerbird collects blue objects for his bower. Is that an artistic choice for the color blue? Or is he just following a genetic program that says collect blue things? The debate is fierce. On one side, you have the strict adaptationists. For them, the answer is clear. This is not art, it is a magnificent adaptation shaped by the preferences of female fish. Every curve of the sand serves a function. Those radial ridges channel water flow, sweeping tiny particles toward the center. This might keep the display area clean or carry the male's scent. The outer trenches might amplify the visual contrast of the male in the middle. It's all engineering. Efficient, functional design. Beauty is a side effect, a happy accident. But then you look at the decorations. The male doesn't just sculpt sand, he forages. He collects fragments of shell and bits of coral. He places them deliberately along the outer ridges. These aren't structural. They serve no clear purpose. They are ornaments, embellishments. Why? If the signal is purely about physical fitness, why add this extra step? One theory is it's another test. It shows he knows his territory and is a good forager. But another, more provocative idea whispers, what if the female pufferfish has a taste for the ornate? What if she has a primitive sense of beauty? This is the other side of the debate, the idea that aesthetics can be a driving force in evolution. That female choice isn't just about picking the strongest male. It's about picking the male who makes something she finds pleasing. The sexy sons hypothesis gets a twist. It's not just, my sons will be strong. It could be, my sons will build beautiful sandcastles that females love. The philosopher Dennis Dutton argued that a sense of the aesthetic is not uniquely human. It's a deep biological reality. A love of skill, harmony, and pattern. He saw it in the bowers of birds and the songs of whales. And now we see it in the sand circles of a pufferfish. The female's preference for a well-made, finely decorated circle could have driven this evolution. The aesthetic sense comes first, the art follows. So where does that leave our little pufferfish? Is he a brilliant engineer or an instinctive artist? Perhaps he is both. The two ideas aren't mutually exclusive. In nature, function and form are inseparable. What works often ends up being beautiful. And what is beautiful often works. The structure is perfect bioengineering. It is also a thing of profound, startling beauty. The fish doesn't know this, he can't appreciate it. But we can. And the female fish might sense it in a way we can barely comprehend. This innate drive blurs the lines we love to draw, between instinct and creativity, between utility and art, between animal and human. We look at the pyramids or a symphony and feel the chasm between us and the rest of nature. We built those with conscious minds and culture and tools. Then we look down at a 2-meter wide circle in the sand. It was built by a creature with a brain the size of a pea, using only his body, following a genetic script written over millions of years. And we see the same principles: ambition, pattern, ornamentation, a desire to make a mark. To say, "I was here," the pufferfish's castle isn't a thought, it's a feeling. An ancient, irresistible feeling to build this specific, beautiful thing. It comes from a place deeper than thought, a place we share. So the next time you feel a sudden urge to arrange flowers in a vase just so, or to hum a melody, or to trace a pattern in the frost on a window, remember the pufferfish. Swimming his endless circles in the dim blue light, carving a geometry of desire he doesn't understand, for a reason he'll never know. He is not an artist in our sense, but his existence suggests that the seed of art, the instinct for pattern and decoration, for creating something that stirs a feeling in another, that seed is ancient. It is buried deep in the living earth. And it blooms in the most unexpected places, even on a silent seafloor in the fleeting sand. And so the female leaves. Her eggs are there, in the center, fertilized. The male's work, for now, is done. That intricate circle in the sand, that masterpiece of instinct, will soon be erased. The current will smooth it, sand will shift. In a matter of days, maybe hours, it will be gone. A temporary artwork created at immense effort for a single fleeting moment of connection. But that moment would ripple out into our world. It would not stay hidden. This story, the story of the pufferfish and its sand castle, did something remarkable. It escaped the scientific journals. It leapt from the careful observations of Hiroshi Kawase and his team and landed squarely in the lap of global culture. On the internet, imagine a grainy video shot by a diver, a mysterious, perfect geometric pattern on the ocean floor. It was posted online in the early 2010s. The title was something like Mysterious Underwater Crop Circle. It was a mystery ready-made for the digital age, and it went completely viral. People were mesmerized. They shared it everywhere. They called it art. They called it alien. They called it proof of something magical. The comments filled with awe and confusion. Here was this stunning, complex structure, and the creator was a fish. A small, funny-looking pufferfish. The disconnect was the point. Our human mind struggled to connect the cause and the effect, the artist and the art. That viral moment was a beautiful accident. It was science communication happening organically. The public's wonder directly mirrored the scientists' own initial wonder. That "what on earth is that" feeling. The internet, for once, wasn't just sharing a cat video. It was sharing a genuine, profound mystery of nature, and it was hungry for the answer. Science provided it. The work of Kawase gave the story its backbone, his years of patience lying on the seafloor and watching. His diagrams and flow tanks and measurements. That research transformed the mystery. It gave us the how and the why, but the public's love for the story gave it a soul. It became a shared reference point, a tiny ambassador from a hidden world. And that is perhaps the first and deepest lesson this fish teaches us: humility. We mapped the moon before we fully mapped our ocean floors. We send rovers to Mars while new species swim undiscovered in our own seas. The pufferfish's circles were there all along, right off the coast of a technologically advanced nation. For generations we had no idea. It was found not by a high-tech submersible, but by a curious diver. It was solved not by a sudden flash of genius, but by persistent, quiet observation. This story is a reminder. The greatest discoveries aren't always in the distant cosmos. They are often right here, hidden in plain sight. Or in this case, hidden in plain sand, waiting for us to look down and truly see. The ocean is our planet's final frontier, and this small fish, building its temporary monuments, is a testament to that frontier's endless capacity to astonish. It whispers to us that for all our knowledge and technology, we are still beginners. The world is still deeply, wonderfully strange. Which brings us to the lasting impression. What do we take away from this? After the wonder fades, what remains? The pufferfish has become a symbol of nature's hidden complexity. It challenges our most comfortable assumptions. We like categories. We like to put things in boxes. Instinct here, intelligence there, art over here, utility over there. This fish blurs all those lines. Is it instinct? Absolutely. The blueprint is in its DNA. A male pufferfish doesn't learn this. He doesn't go to sandcastle school. He just knows. From his first attempt, he knows the pattern, but calling it just instinct feels cheap. It dismisses the breathtaking precision, the days of labor, the aesthetic choice of shell fragments. It reduces a symphony to a single repeated note. Is it art? That's the question that captivates us. Art, in our human definition, requires intention, a consciousness, a desire to create something for its own sake, for beauty. We can't know if the pufferfish feels that. We can't ask him. But we see the result. We see a structure that has a clear functional purpose and yet transcends it. The female chooses based on the structure's quality, the fitness it signals. But the structure itself has a geometric elegance, a symmetry that speaks to us. It feels like art. So maybe the question isn't whether the fish is an artist. Maybe the question is why our definition of art is so small, why we reserve it only for ourselves. Perhaps beauty and function are not opposites in nature. Perhaps they are the same thing. The most efficient solution, shaped by millions of years of trial and error, often becomes the most beautiful one. The pufferfish's circle is efficient. It manipulates water flow. It showcases the male. And in doing so, it creates a form that stops our breath. It challenges what we think about intelligence too. We equate intelligence with tool use. With problem solving we can easily understand. A monkey using a rock to crack a nut, or a crow bending a wire to get food. But what is this if not problem solving? The problem is to attract a mate. The solution is to reshape your entire world. Use your body as the tool. Use the sand as your medium. Solve for hydrodynamics. Solve for visual appeal. That is a profound kind of intelligence. It's just not our kind. So we are left with circles in the sand, temporary, purposeful, beautiful. They are a message from a different mind. A mind shaped by currents and sunlight filtering through water. A mind driven by the ancient, urgent song of reproduction. That mind created a form that our own minds, shaped by language and logic, can recognize as something extraordinary. The story of the white-spotted pufferfish is not just a curious fact about a fish. It is a mirror. When we look at those ridges and valleys, we see our own wonder reflected back. We see our hunger for mystery, our need for beauty, our struggle to understand a world that is vastly older and in many ways more ingenious than we are. The circles will always be washed away, but the impression they leave on us is permanent. They remind us that genius wears many forms, that art might be written in DNA, that profound creativity thrives in the quiet, dark places, asking for nothing but a chance to continue. The next time you stand on a beach, look at the sand, Feel its endless shifting grains, and remember, just beneath the waves, on a stage of sand, a small artist is possibly at work, sculpting a temporary masterpiece, a signal, a plea, a circle of hope in the dark. And in that thought, there is a profound and resolved wonder. The wonder of a world that is still full of secrets, still full of circles waiting to be found. We have reached the end of tonight's topics, and it is time to let your mind completely unwind. Whatever you learned tonight, let it fade into a soft hum as you drift off. Thank you for being a part of Night Shift Knowledge and sharing this quiet space with me. Remember to leave a topic suggestion for next time if you are still awake, but for now, just rest. Sleep well, and I will be here the next time you need to quiet your mind. Good night.